Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Norm.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Kishore.
Hey, Kishore. Kishore, I'm impressed that you have time to be here today, given that you are one of the busiest humans I know, and I can't believe what you organize during this month.
You want to know what my secret is? I actually don't have time to be here, but I'm here anyways.
Okay. So you're double booking all the time.
100%. All of my emails started with apologies for this late response.
Oh my God.
That's pretty standard for me, too.
Well, one of the reasons that we have you here, and we had you here, I think, you know what, we podcasted with you at Silicon Valley Comic Con, is because you put on a ton of events. And
Was it me or was it Mayor McCheese? I can't remember.
No,
They're two different
they
personas
are maybe one and the same. And we had you at Silicon Valley Comic Con because you had just helped organize the March for Science in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And in the fall, you have run for the past 7 years the Bay Area Science Festival.
Yeah, I have a science festival that's a first grader now. That's how old it is.
Oh.
And to be clear, like, this is multiple events over 5 or 6 weeks, or is it just a month?
It's usually about 50 events over 10 days. This year we're 2 weeks long. Because basically I guess I decided I wanted more gray in my beard. Mm-hmm. No, it's an awesome experience. I mean, most of the stuff that gets me up in the morning is this idea of bringing people together and having science be part of that, but not the sole reason they're getting together. The getting together part is the most important part. And I guess we live in a time when everyone's siloed from each other, and it seems the antithesis of that is physically getting together in the same space. And having conversations and having social experiences together. Sometimes there's sausage shot.
Yes. Yeah. So the Tested Live show is part of the Bay Area Science Festival, and we've been part of it for 4 years now. As we predicted last week, huge success.
Yeah, it was really, really.
Was that the prediction? That was not the internal prediction.
No, it was really, really fun. It was great. It crackled along. I loved our band, the Nice Guy Trio.
Yes.
On accordion, trumpet, and stand-up bass, which, like, you're hearing that, and if you didn't see it, you'd be like, how does that work? And the answer is really well.
So classy.
So good.
Norm got to choose them.
Yeah, no, Kishore puts it on, and we start the planning for this, a little bit of how the sausage is made, a couple months before, and
at least,
yeah. So we talk about segments, we talk about ideas for team members, people like Sean and Jeremy, what projects they want to show, and also people that we want to bring in that are either going to be in town or we just want to reach out to and say you want to be part of our show, reach this audience because we'd love to spend more time with you, and then musically, we had a band last year. They played some covers of songs, but you sent me like a list of like 4 or 5 bands, and once I clicked the YouTube link for Nice Guy Trio, I said that's the one.
It was a little classier, a little more eclectic.
Yeah.
Fit the vibe of the show.
Totally.
What'd you think, Adam? Coming in, like, this show is a little bit different than what you're used to touring with Brain Candy and some of the other shows, because it's really a variety show.
Absolutely. And actually, there are ways in which that's very similar to Brain Candy. And it's like, small vignettes that end with a bang or a whisper or a funny, a little bit of understanding. We had some...
Less dancing, though.
The variety was really, really lovely. And I liked how sort of rough-hewn it was. That's one of the ways you bring the audience in. Like, these aren't super polished TED Talks, and that's on purpose. My talk wasn't super... My talk, actually, by the way, was a suggestion of Norm's.
Yeah.
I talked about the Kubrick director's chair that I was working on, and you know me well enough to actually go, you should talk about that and talk about the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, fuck, you're totally right. All right, that's what we're going to do.
That's this weird disconnect, because we hang out, and sometimes you tell stories, and my brain's like, that'd be really cool on stage.
I was talking to people afterwards, and this is an unrelenting talk. This is basically like, here is how obsessed I get with stuff. And people came up to me and was like, I didn't know Adam was like that. I'm like, no, that's the real Adam.
So this is you never know. I want to go back to an origin story for me, which was, I didn't think of that as a deeply obsessive talk. I understand that it is intellectually, but in the same way that as I approached the Maltese Falcon talk, now like 12 years ago, and Kevin Kelly told me, oh, you should really workshop that. It could be a fine talk, and it became my first TED Talk, EG Talk on the TED site. And That stems from I'm in 5th grade art. My art teacher is the amazing Vinny Albano, who taught at Morse School. His brother was Captain Lou Albano, the manager.
I was wondering if
I'm
there's a
not
wrestling
totally
connection.
the same Albano family. Lou Albano was famously Andre the Giant's manager, and shows up in a lot of Cyndi Lauper's early '80s videos. Anyway, Lou Albano's brother Vinny was my first inspirational art teacher, and Vinny was like, "Today we're going to have a contest. We're going to have a drawing contest. Everyone's going to draw something." And I was like, I have no idea what to draw. All right, I'm just not even going to care about this contest. I'm just going to draw that wall. And I literally drew the wall, but I drew everything on the wall, the art and the coats and the coat hangers, and I won. Now, this is not to say that that it doesn't matter that I won. What was interesting to me was that I did something that was just completely present. I wasn't thinking about a contest, and something honest came out of that. And the same thing happened with the chair talk, was that the audience got really quiet. And I was thinking, I expected maybe some more laughs for this. Seriously. And then I realized it's because they're all there like, wow, he goes deep, man. That is. Even Simone came up afterwards and said, I really, even knowing you, I didn't know that level of...
The talk will be...
As it happened, people were whispering. Like, I think the physics girl Danielle and we were all like looking at each other, like nodding, like this is happy. Yes.
I tell you where you lost them, or at least like people are like, "Whoa, this is too far." Is when you got to the flower etching on the rivet. I heard an audible groan, like 2 rows back, like, "Oh my god."
The whole show is going to be on the site, so you'll be able to watch that as a part of the whole sequence for Tested Premium members.
There's one segment I have to ask about. One finale. So we did this segment with Kenji Lopez-Alt, a chef friend of ours,
Yep.
and it was literally about how the sausage is made, and how salted meats like bind better than unsalted, and that makes a difference in sausage. And it ends with some sausage projectiles.
Yep.
And you hit your boss, Norm, with some sausage. So
I couldn't see.
So Norm was holding a target, which was a Captain America shield.
That's right.
And the sausage was shot at it, and it deflected off the vibranium.
Norm was also expressly told, make sure the sausage does not hit the expensive screen behind you, so the audience is expendable in this equation.
Aim down.
The screen absorbs oil. Audience can wash themselves.
That's right. Yeah.
But it was so funny. The second
You covered
one
Margie with
literally
sausage?
hit Margie.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness,
I had
that's
no
awesome.
idea.
That's the
She
best.
was laughing.
Wow.
Oh no, she's
I think it was one of the most engaged moments she had all night.
I also, you guys asked for my help in an air cannon for Kenji, and I did not have time to build the air cannon.
No, you're on tour. You're traveling.
I was traveling a lot, but I passed you guys off to Tori Fink, our wonderful shop manager from Mythbusters, and drew a diagram, which I did not expect you guys to tweet the diagram. And I was like, boy, I hope I didn't miss anything there, and like am all of a sudden an idiot. And I did miss something, which was an accumulator. That's the reason that Kenji's cannon did not fire. It's that there's only so much air you can move through a certain sized orifice, and with the equation as you guys had it that I had diagrammed for you, I hadn't included an accumulator right behind the solenoid to make sure there was some pressurized air right at the solenoid to move quickly into the chamber, and it just moved too slow.
Quarter inch.
The solution to your problem would have been a longer barrel. Like if you had gone with a barrel like 3 times as long, you would have gotten some real speed. Because again, it's just build up behind.
Right.
But one of those things that it's almost like I know too innately how to make an air cannon to diagram it out. I just have to look at it and be like, oh, I forgot the accumulator. Boop, and just put that in.
I guess we have to find another reason to build a meat cannon.
Or launch anything
It's
with compressed
not
air.
the first meat cannon that I have made.
I'm sure not. I mean, if you've made a meat rocket, why can't you? I'm sure you've made multiple meat cannons.
There was the day, perhaps the dirtiest I've ever gotten on Mythbusters, when we were making sausage rockets, and I was taking liquid nitrogen frozen sausages, lathing them into solid rocket tubes on the lathe, and then lathing graphite nozzles for the same rocket. So I'm covered with sausage goo, dust, and graphite.
No licking fingers.
No, I was.
Oh.
That was.
Did you salt the sausage at least?
I hear it holds it together better.
Yeah, I think we could. Actually, a sausage rocket is particularly rough because of the. Because it's like it's like concrete. It's like got an aggregate. So there are parts of the sausage that burn faster than other parts, and that's not what you want in solid rocket fuel. You want great consistency in how the burn
Even though
happens.
a lot of potential energy there in the
Yeah,
fat, it
so-
just doesn't evenly.
Well, if you picture it, so a solid rocket motor is a tube, and it burns from the inside out. And the goal is to control the speed of that burn, both with the material choice and with the size of the nozzle you have, and your oxidizer. But with the sausage as a solid rocket fuel, it has all the components, and if you blended it up until it was like a pate and then froze it would probably make a great solid fuel. But because you have little chunks of fat, those burn much faster and then create cracks and fissures. And the moment you have a crack in a solid rocket booster, you have a failure of the entire rocket. It's a pipe bomb.
This is not so dissimilar. I made a thermic lance, which is this idea of having a iron rod, and essentially it gets consumed with oxygen that's flowing through it. But we essentially put bacon on the end as sort of that fuel source to get it started. But the ripples of fat cause like uneven burning on the end. Luckily, the failure there is just more sparks, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Thief with James Caan?
No.
Terrific movie, really weird. The kind of weirdo movie that they made in the 70s, late 70s, I think. Anyway, there's a whole bank robbing scene where I think the task is it's the hardest safe you've ever cracked. Go and do it.
And he used bacon to get in?
No, he uses a thermic lance to cut a new door right in the
That
vault.
won't work. That can't work in real life.
Oh yeah, totally it can.
Really?
Is it
Oh,
get hot enough
absolutely,
and-
absolutely. Yeah, no, a big thermic lance can go right through layers and layers and layers of steel.
We cut a steel door the other day with one, but I didn't think it would get through that. Anyways, enough about thermic lances.
Well, speaking of thermic lenses, one of our other presenters had worked on the thermic lens, right? Is it Alan worked on?
Alan built one, and we built a separate one. So Alan Pan, who was on Mythbusters: The Search, and he's sufficiently advanced and just an incredible inventor, and he's slightly obsessed with Thor right now.
Yeah.
Which was that was the most delightful talk because it was again so honest and so heartfelt, and you just felt like you were being led into a peculiar mind that has done a lot to facilitate its own peculiarity.
Well, it's something that people might not realize who even attended the show is that whole thing came together in the last 4 days. We originally had the plan. One of his projects that he has on his YouTube channel is this fire punch. It's a performance-based gauntlet that, based on your hand gestures, launches fireballs. It's a inspired.
butane fuel source, and it has an accelerometer on it. So as you go forward, it launches out the butane, and there's an electrical igniter on the end. I've worn it. It's a lot of fun.
It's spectacular.
I'll bet.
It is a lot of fun. It's from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The fire marshal put the kibosh on
Oh
it.
well, of course they did. I could have
And-
told you that was going to happen.
Wow.
I was a little optimistic there.
Yeah.
So we came up with this the Thor hammer, and putting 2 giant capacitors in a plastic toy hammer didn't even come into conception until the Wednesday before the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? That's
Yeah.
impressive that he did all that in a day, couple days.
It's incredible. And then Norm sacrificed the Captain America shield for its purpose.
Norm
Totally
got some
fine.
genuine weathering. You now
Yes.
have a story right
Exactly.
up built into the surface of your shield.
Totally. Everyone's waiting for Infinity War. We know the shield's going to get messed up.
I'm glad they said it
it's
was
gonna
your
work
shield
out.
because the first thing I thought was, did they use my shield?
Walking around the cave, I see multiple shields. One must be expendable.
One last shout out about the live show. It was great seeing all the members that came and everyone that said hello. It's wonderful to see you all.
Yeah.
But my last shout out, the one thing that I didn't expect that was just blew me away, Simone is a hell of an MC. Holy cow.
Yeah.
She should do that more.
yeah.
She was incredible up there.
I thought the same exact thing, and I went up afterwards, and she and I shared this back and forth. I said, I hadn't seen you speak in public before, and you're a natural. That was
Really?
really, really impressive. And she said, I have not seen you speak in public before.
And I'm horrified now.
No, she said, I feel like I understood something a lot deeper about you. Yeah.
I think that was the thing for a lot of our presenters, that once, even throughout our rehearsals, it wasn't until the moment of, with 1,000 people in the audience, that they got to be their best. You feed off of that, and no one was as good as they were actually in the moment of their talk.
Well, it's with an audience like that too, with that much love coming from the audience, it's really significant. Whenever we have a super enthusiastic audience on Brain Candy, that's where a lot of new material comes out. Because when you have an audience that is that engaged, you can really start to move the material around and open it up. And that doesn't mean take longer, but jokes might find their heart quicker when the audience is super involved.
Yeah.
It was incredible. It was an incredible experience, and it was only one sliver of my science festival experience.
So what
so
I was thinking when we're there, I'm like, he seems pretty chill, but I'll bet you have like 2 or 3 other events happening simultaneously.
Like, we should have my wife on the podcast. She's like, this is what he's really like during this week, where I am not chill. I am not chill. I'm just like curled up in fetal position. No, but I've had an exceptional thing. I will just tell you how I've bounded back and forth really briefly. So, opening event of the festival was I interviewed Walter Isaacson, who wrote the Steve Jobs autobiography.
Yeah.
I interviewed him about his new book about Da Vinci.
Didn't he write the Benjamin Franklin biography a long time ago?
Yeah, Ben Franklin, Henry Kissinger. He wrote one on Einstein. He's like, clearly he has a slight theme going on.
He does. I'm going to derail you for just a second. Many years ago, Jamie and I hosted Discovery Channel's Young Scientist Challenge in D.C., and this is literally like 2005, 2006, and Isaacson was the keynote speaker. And Isaacson he's a wonderful writer, but he gave the most tone-deaf 45-minute speech about Benjamin Franklin to a crowd of 5,000 children.
Wow.
That's not where you want to go.
It was like the opposite of Hamilton.
It was the opposite of the anti-Hamilton.
Well,
anyway,
backstage, I got unfiltered thoughts about iOS 11 from him that I thought was the best part.
Did you really need that?
Yeah,
no, that's totally the best inside
it
dope,
was
right?
the best inside stuff.
That's so
But
funny.
I went from that to like a few hours later, I was Mayor McCheese. I was wandering around the Cal Academy where he'd built a science haunted house, and Peaches Christ, who's a famous local drag queen here,
Peaches.
dragged me on stage as a giant cheeseburger, and she just went out and she said, please give it up to all the scientists here who do so much work to make our life better. And I just remember walking off stage. I'm like, did a drag queen just do a better job of getting people excited about science than me in a cheeseburger outfit? Apparently so.
At the years ago at the Purple Onion, I did a storytelling night with Peaches out of drag.
Oh, Joshua is great
And
as a storyteller.
this was one of the very first times Joshua had done a thing out of drag and talked about Wigstock and told a story which is really unprintable in this podcast, but brilliant.
Even for this podcast.
Yes, seriously.
Because I listen to this podcast. There's been some strange stories told here. Do I have permission to tell one more event
absolutely.
story?
I wanna hear you.
Like,
Yes,
please. There's a lot more. So meaningful. We held a hands-on science day in the North Bay.
Yes.
And I think most
The
people
Saturday
know about
of
that
Tested
morning.
Life.
That's where my morning started. I think many people know about the North Bay fires and all the victims up there. And we held it at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. We've been holding it there for 6 years. Which was the hub of the fire response in the North Bay.
Yeah.
And I went to cancel that event, and firefighters and community members said, no, you just got to do this. And I met a mom and her kids like walking in, and she started crying. She like needed a place just to go with her kids. So I went from that to like shooting sausage at a Captain America shields. And then the next night, this is I don't think I should be working in the field event that I ran. I ran a mashup with this event called Hood Slam, which is an underground wrestling event.
Amazing.
And a science themed version where we got wrestlers to play act as famous scientific figures and have it out. So we had like Tyson versus Nine, Edison versus Tesla, where we built a cage for their match. And we called it a Faraday cage, and people were like, that's not accurate.
my money's on Tyson against Bill Nye.
Tyson did win.
dude.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, spoiler, Pluto came in and beat them both.
Oh.
As the run-in.
Hilarious.
My favorite thing that happened, though, is we did this Rosalind Franklin versus Watson and Crick match, and they're fighting for. We built a Nobel Prize championship belt.
Oh my God, I love this so much.
And I thought, I don't know how much wrestling fans are going to know about this whole like Rosalind Franklin, Watson Crick thing. I thought it's like an insider science thing.
Not anymore.
And, you know, just because of how they kind of covered up her contributions to the discovery of DNA, she comes out like the biggest pop you've ever heard from a crowd.
Wow.
And so she does this move that I just called the double helix, where she double DDTs them into the ground and grabs the belt, and people are like lost their mind. There's like 350 people in there that were cheering louder for that than anything I've ever done.
That's the best. That's the best.
Yeah.
It was the best. I totally lost my voice doing it, but it was all I said afterwards. Was like, that was worth it. It was worth it just to see that happen.
And then the night before our show, there was a BAFest,
Right.
which you were a part of, Adam, right?
I was. BAFest is scientists get up and defend absurd hypotheses. And that was really thrilling, deeply thrilling, not just because of the distinguished panel of judges.
Carl Zimmer, who's the lead science reporter for the New York Times, was one of the judges.
And someone I'm a huge fan of, Maggie Corth Baker, she's now another person that I know in Minneapolis, along with my Riff Tracks friends and some other folks like Anna Marie. So we're going to see her and when I travel through Minneapolis on a Brain Candy
fantastic.
tour. But watching the presentations each of the scientists gave of their absurd hypotheses was great, but watching them defend that hypothesis against questioning from the panel of judges was super great.
It was, so they have to face a Q&A, and it's like a deadpan scientific seminar.
Totally.
And so they ask like the most obscure, bizarre questions back to you, just like how scientists have to deal with their.
Oh my gosh.
It's like if you're defending your thesis, like somebody will ask something that is just a ridiculous question.
That's a ton of preparation needed.
It really was, and the guy who won was head and shoulders in terms of his ability. Like his presentation was really funny about our eyes are on the same side of our head so that we can wink and nonverbal communication for mating purposes.
Nice.
Right? So that was a little absurd, but and he was a scientist and a stand-up comedian, so a real ringer.
He's a ringer.
He's won before.
Yeah.
But when it came time for the questioning was when he really shined, because they would ask these technical questions that you could tell from long experience of seeing this process and understanding it deeply. And this is a crowd that was laughing at like p-value jokes.
Yeah.
Right?
This is the most in science crowd you're going to get.
And his ability to cough up wonderful, deeply relevant phraseology to defend his thesis was amazing.
It was tough. Adam is the first keynote for that event, and it's happened all around the world. He's the first keynote that asked the judges to judge him.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that proved to
Bold.
be a mistake.
Oh.
Well, I was never there to win. Let's be clear. But I did feel like getting judged was appropriate.
I think my favorite part is was watching the ASL interpreter try to interpret your talk, which was full of jargon.
Yeah, my talk was full of all this fake jargon, which I realized is actually funnier to half scientists than it is to actual scientists. Right? Like if you know too much, it's not funny because it's easy. And if you don't know enough, you don't get the joke. I turned to the ASL interpreter just before I started and I said, I am sorry for what I'm about to do to you.
Earn your keep.
He did great. He did really great. He's like spelling out my terms really quickly.
That he had done the event before, and a few years ago, Matt Inman, who's the Oatmeal, he does the webcomic The Oatmeal, gave a keynote, and his talk was so bizarre about these like beetles that would shoot juice into your mouth. That's what Darwin found on the Galapagos, and so like the sign language interpreter is trying to like keep up with him, and it just turns out that the sign language interpreter is funnier than Matt is in his presentation, so the laughs are coming at the wrong time, and at one point he looks at the audience, he's like, wait, why are you laughing then?
Which could be the title of Jamie Heinemann's autobiography.
The day we're recording this and the day this come out, we're on Halloween.
Halloween!
Today's Halloween.
Halloween, everybody.
None of us are in costume.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
I'm going out.
Are you going out?
Well, I
you
have
have-
a
you have-
6-year-old,
you have a
so we're
6-year-old.
going trick or treating.
Yeah.
I usually get forced into costumes that fit the theme that he's most interested in. So last year he went as a football player, so I went as a goalpost.
Nice.
And that was not fun to like
Okay.
stand like this for like blocks and blocks and blocks. But tonight he's going as a stormtrooper, much more in my
So
wheelhouse.
where are you going?
I'm going as
Do you want to borrow a Jedi robe? I got one. That's a nice, easy.
no, we're just going as a science fiction family tonight. So I'm trying out for the first time one of my DS9 outfits that I've been in my
Oh.
closet for a while. I
Oh,
really
nice.
love the uniform with the gray.
Great pads.
Yes, exactly. And so I finally invested in a nice one. I got the nice pips.
Ooh,
I
nice.
splurged
Ooh.
on the nice pips, and
done.
so
What
I'm
rank?
Captain, of course.
All right.
Of course. I thought about going
Oh,
as
Captain,
science.
my captain.
I thought about getting the science officer
Yeah.
blue, but no, it's
You went
captain.
red. All
It's
right.
captain. I can't allow my son not to think of me as the captain of this ship at
Right.
this age.
No, of course. You need all the authority that you can muster.
How about you guys? No,
We're, I mean, now that the live show's over, we get to watch Stranger Things season 2.
Yes,
staying in?
that's gonna-
I'm now 4 episodes
I'm
in.
3 episodes in, so
Wow.
Yeah, this is. I'm sorry, Kishore, you have a science festival. To
I
run,
am.
So.
I am 0 in, of course.
It's intense.
Yes, and this is not a spoiler cast, and we will do a spoiler
Yeah, we
cast at
will-
some
yeah.
point. But I think, I mean, even leading up to it, now there's an after show. It's probably like the most hyped up Netflix show, a season 2 for a long time, and the first couple episodes delivers all the right 80s feels.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and so my wife turns to me and she goes, "Do you want me to skip the intro?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, right.
No, this is the intro. I need to watch all the way through every single
it
time.
sets the mood.
I don't like that. The skipping the intro. I mean, I know some shows.
Oh, I skip the intro on a lot
Oh,
of
I,
shows.
Most shows, I
So
do.
the other, we've talked about this before, but my mom was in town this weekend, and so she was at BAFest and at Tested Live, and we've been watching lots of television with her that she hasn't seen. So we showed her over the past few days 3 episodes of Master of None, and the episodes we chose were the dinner party. When
Okay,
when
that's
he
great.
takes Francesca to Chef Jeff's house and
Yes.
John Legend plays.
season 2 then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We showed her Thanksgiving,
Oh,
which is
yes.
maybe one of the greatest episodes of television I've ever seen. It's like the 3rd time I've seen it.
That won that actress the Emmy. I feel like that episode,
That-
without a doubt.
Incredible. I mean, it's so heartfelt and so sweet and so straightforward. Like there's just
honest.
Angela Bassett is a goddess. And then we also showed her New York, I Love You.
Oh.
And when you realize that these 3 shows exist on a continuum of a single show and 20 episodes,
Yeah.
right? It hasn't
And-
been a 3rd season.
Right, but you're talking about all 3 in one season. Those are all 3
Like,
episodes in one
intense.
season. 10
And you're not even
episodes.
referring to the opening episode that's all in black and white that has
right. Yes.
In Italy, yeah.
And you had to choose you didn't choose Parents.
No,
right.
we did watch Parents. We did
okay.
also watch Parents because Parents
You kind of have
Parents
to. Yeah.
has a deep and late gut punch, which I found really exciting.
Parents hit a little close to home for somebody like me.
You could watch that with your parents, and that would be your communication for the month.
Right.
Like, yeah. But yes.
A little close to home.
Very close to home. And my dad is like Aziz's dad. I think a lot of like first generation immigrants like can relate to that, and that's why that episode works so well. Is there's universality in just how your parents talk to you, just everyone gets. And then there's some special tweaks that you see. And so they were clearly, I mean, beyond the fact that his actual parents there, they clearly wrote from experience into that and in such a deep way. And I got a call the other night during the Tested Live show from my dad. I didn't take it, but I listened to the voicemail when I got home. It was literally a question about fixing his computer. And like he knows I'm doing a show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your mom enjoy the episodes?
Very much. Very much. Yeah. I mean, they're masterpieces.
Yeah.
They're really incredible. And, the dinner party, which, if you don't remember, ends with effectively 6-minute shot, I think, of Aziz saying goodbye to Francesca, all of them in the back of
Oh,
a
it's
cab.
the cab ride home.
And then you follow him for the entire song of a cab ride home as he sits and regrets that he didn't try and kiss her, or
And
that
it's
they're
just
not
like-
together, and she's got a boyfriend, and he's sad about
He's
it,
just looking out the window.
and just like kind of dealing with it. And
Oh.
I mean, it's beautiful.
I hope Netflix doesn't try to rush a season 3, because you like to have what came out of that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so Alan Yang and Aziz, I think they've been very non-committal
Oh,
about
yeah.
season
Yeah.
3.
I would. I mean, like, clearly they're taking time. And again, it's a little like the Louis model, right? Of I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to many faraway places, but it's not going to be hugely expensive. So let's just, trust me.
But is this generational? You said your mom was watching it. Did she enjoy it?
And absolutely.
It still spoke to her.
Of course it's. In fact, actually, I think it may speak more strongly to my mom, who came of her. My mom was born in 1935. She's 83, but she was deeply part of the scene in New York in the late 50s and mostly the 60s. So that like these guys, both Louis and Aziz, are referring deeply to American cinema and foreign cinema in the 60s. Right? They're looking at Jean-Luc Godard. Yes. They're looking at Godard. They're looking at filmmakers like Fassbender, and also I see Cassavetes in their work. I see, it's thrilling how much they're getting to stretch those muscles. And I mean, I'll wager Aziz is like, hey man, I'm being paid to learn how to be a filmmaker. This is great.
Yeah. I hope he's happy in real life, because he's not happy on the show.
Yeah, you and me both.
Right?
He deserves all the happiness for his wonderful creative output.
I struggle with this. There's so many artists that I'm like, I hope they're happy in real life, but I kind of want to suffer because their art is better. Like there's music that's better when there's breakups involved and like hard things happen.
We'll all get there. All right. Thank you so much, Kishore,
Well,
for
we
joining
ended on
us.
a little bit of a down note, but I'm
Yeah.
cool with that.
Yeah,
It
that's all
always
right.
comes back to Master of None on this podcast. That's like the 20th time it's appeared here.
Is it really?
Yeah, well, we like the show.
It's
I
true.
think it's true.
It's
we like
true.
the show.
Yeah, Tessa likes the show.
And if you are doing something for Halloween, I know you people are very clever out there. Please share some of your photos with us of your costumes.
Yep.
I love going. I mean, just on Twitter, just so many clever costumes I've seen this year. So please share those on the site, and we'll be back, I think, one more week before you go on tour, Adam. Brain Candy Live kicks off November 14th, I believe.
In Providence, Rhode Island.
Yep.
24 cities between then and December 10th.
And then you're taking it overseas.
We're taking it overseas. In late January, we're doing 5 different cities in Australia. And
It's like your second home, Australia.
yeah, I
You have
love
great
it over
fans
there. I
And
love
if
it
you
over there.
haven't watched the video with Adam and Michael Stevens just talking about their watches, I think you should watch it, because
We're going
it's
to do
really
another
funny.
one of those. We're clearly that one has really resonated. So we're going to definitely do one more.
And we'll get some close-up shots of those watches too. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.